Hello and welcome to e-GMAT. We will solve question number 44 of OG Verbal second edition by using e-GMAT three-step process. In the first step, we will understand the meaning of the sentence. In the second, we will evaluate the errors in the sentence, and finally, we will review all the answer choices to get to the correct answer. So let's begin. In contrast to large steel plants that take iron ore through all the steps needed to produce several different kinds of steel, processing steel scrap into a specialized group of products has enabled small mills to put capital into new technology and remain economically viable. Now this sentence presents a contrast, and the phrase "in contrast to" is the marker. The sentence says that large steel plants process iron ore to produce several kinds of steel. Unlike them, the small mills process steel scrap into specific products. This has enabled them to do two things: put capital into new technology and remain economically viable. Now let us evaluate the errors by splitting this sentence into its clauses. So here comes the first one. In contrast to large steel plants, the presence of that tells us that we have another clause here that reads that take iron ore through all the steps needed to produce several different kinds of steel. Here that is the subject and take is the verb. What follows next is the continuation of the first clause, and it reads processing steel scrap into a specialized group of products has enabled small mills to put capital into new technology and remain economically viable. Here processing steel scrap is the subject and has enabled is the verb. Now in order to establish the contrast, this sentence uses the idiom in contrast to X, Y. So here large steel plants stands as X, which is a noun phrase, and it has been contrasted with processing steel scrap that stands for Y, but this one is a verb ing phrase. Now these two entities are neither grammatically parallel nor logically parallel. Large steel plants is contrasted with action of the small mills. Now notice here that processing is not the verb here, but it's a verb ing that actually denotes an action, and this action is performed by the small mills. So what we have here is large steel plants being contrasted with the action of small mills. So the two entities contrasted here are not logically parallel. So if large steel plants are contrasted with small mills, that will make this comparison logical. So from this sentence we know that X and Y are not parallel, and this leads to the parallelism error in the sentence. Well, this is the only error here, and let's run the POE to find out the correct answer. Well, choice A is wrong as we discussed just now. Choice B repeats the same parallelism error as in choice A. Also, processing steel scrap has enabled small plants to put capital into new technology and remain economically viable. These two are independent purposes, and these two should actually be parallel to each other. So we have another parallelism issue in this choice. Remaining is not parallel to put. Furthermore, this choice distorts the meaning of the sentence. It unnecessarily links the two independent purposes. Now let's take an example here. When we say Josh loves to make new friends and throw parties, here we are expressing two different ideas. Josh loves to make new friends and he loves to throw parties. But when we try and connect them, and the sentence appears to be like Josh loves to make new friends throwing parties, here now we are not talking about two independent ideas. Here the verb ing is actually describing the preceding clause. Now the meaning of the sentence stands as Josh loves to make new friends by throwing parties. This is not what the original sentence intended to say. Now as we know that the function of the verb ing is either to describe the preceding clause or to present the result of the preceding clause. In this example, the verb ing is describing the preceding clause. What's happening in the original choice B is remaining economically viable is presenting the result of the preceding clause, and this is certainly not the intended meaning of the sentence, and hence This choice is not correct. Furthermore, it's not even clear what is remaining economically viable stands for, because as per the original sentence, remaining economically viable should actually refer to small mills, because who remain economically viable? The small mills. But the way the sentence has been written here, this verb ing is actually modifying processing steel scrap, which is absolutely illogical. So for these reasons, choice B is not the correct answer. Well, choice C repeats all these mistakes of choice B and hence is incorrect. Choice D is the correct answer, because now the entities contrasted in the sentence are grammatically as well as logically parallel to each other, and all the parallelism issues have been taken care of here. So choice D is the correct answer. Let's review choice E. Well, here we find that to put is not parallel to remained, which it should be. So we have the parallelism issue here. So as we found out, choice D is the correct answer for this sentence. Time to take a look at the takeaway messages. The two entities compared or contrasted in the sentence must be logically as well as grammatically parallel to each other. In the list pertaining to parallelism, we must be able to identify the correct list, and we must make sure that all the entities in the list must be logically as well as grammatically parallel. The concepts tested in this sentence have been covered in e-GMAT concepts level 2 parallelism comparison and level 2 modifiers verb ing.